How's it going, guys? It's Pride here, back with part 17 of What If the Earthlings Were Strong. Last we left off with Goku finally being able to fight the real Granola, while Vegeta meets, for the first time, Frieza's brother, Cooler. Yamcha is there as well because his instincts tell him that between Cooler and Granola, Cooler is far more dangerous of a threat. So, without further ado, let's see how well a fight plays out with combatants who are amongst the strongest in the universe. After Yamcha and Vegeta leave, Goku and Granola face off against each other. Goku asks Granola if he still intends to fight to the death. Granola responds by shooting two high-powered and incredibly fast finger beams aimed directly at Goku's head and heart. Since this is the real Granola, Goku must instantly transform into Super Saiyan Blue, just so he can dodge this attack. Granola makes a side remark about Saiyans and their absurd transformations, and then the fight really begins. Goku tries to close the distance between them with instant transmission, only to be shocked when Granola uses the same technique to stay at range and unleash a barrage of scatter shots at Goku, who in turn dodges most of these attacks, and the ones he can't dodge, he counters with ki blasts of his own. Understanding that Granola is clearly better at range, Goku is determined to fight on even grounds, as in hand-to-hand combat. So, with a grin on his face, Goku uses instant transmission yet again, which leads to a game of cat and mouse as the two continuously try to outmaneuver one another. Eventually, thanks to years of experience and expertise in this skill, Goku gets the upper hand, and just as Granola comes out of instant transmission, Goku is already there with a spin kick aimed at his head. However, Granola was one step ahead. He already realized that Goku was better at teleporting, so he waited for this exact moment. As he ducks under Goku's leg, steps in and shoots a point-blank finger blast at Goku's now exposed side, hoping to end the fight right then and there. But in a flash of red, Goku narrowly avoids the beam, and he did this by reverting into Super Saiyan God to reduce his overall mass, and then focusing completely on Ultra Instinct so he can execute a perfect dodge, and then finally using Kaioken times 50 to maintain the same speed as Super Saiyan Blue. Because of this, Goku's able to complete the spin and throws a punch, and just before it connects, he powers back up into Super Saiyan Blue. Granola does manage to block this attack. However, he couldn't reduce the damage by much thanks to Goku's sudden increase in power. After hearing his arms begin to crack under the intense pressure, Granola unleashes an explosive wave to create some distance. Once Goku is sent flying, Granola instant transmissions even further back. However, Goku does not chase. Both of the warriors pause and takes this moment to examine one another. One fighter is smiling with a look of excitement, even though he has a noticeable burn scar across his chest. The other fighter is scowling with a look of grim determination as his arms develop a shade of purplish blue. As they prepare for the next round, both fighters have a similar thought, as they both realize that they're going to have to give everything they have if they want to win this fight. Meanwhile, on the other side of the planet, we see Vegeta in the middle of the air facing Cooler. They are floating above a ruined city that was destroyed by the Saiyans long ago. Cooler looks at the abandoned city for a few moments, and just as he begins to speak, Vegeta cuts him off, saying, "I only need to know one thing. What do you plan to do now that you've gotten your power up?" Cooler's response is, "Oh, I suppose you would think of it as a simple power-up. Nevertheless, I shall answer, since I see this as you and your people's final request. First, I will clean up my brother's mess. You monkeys have been an eyesore in this universe for far too long. After that, I will train until I can correct the family hierarchy. After all, as the eldest, I am the rightful heir to the throne." Vegeta says, I knew you were scum, just like the rest of the freakso that you call a family. Enough talk, I'm sending you to hell." And with that, their fight begins. Vegeta engages with Cooler in his Super Saiyan God transformation. The first exchanges are relatively equal between the two, surprisingly so, with neither of them actually being able to get an upper hand against each other. That is, until Cooler decides to switch it up just a little bit, as he all of a sudden vanishes from Vegeta's sight, as he instantly appears right behind Vegeta and tries to hit Vegeta from his blind spot. Vegeta is shocked because he wasn't expecting anyone else to actually use instant transmission. However, Vegeta is still able to block this attack, which actually does surprise Cooler because he actually didn't think Vegeta would be able to keep up with. Vegeta yells out that simple tricks like those won't work on him, as he manages to block Cooler and launch a counterattack of his own, actually being the first to land a solid hit in their exchange. Cooler is more amused than hurt. He decides to kick it up a notch as he shoots Vegeta with an I-beam, not expecting to kill Vegeta right here and then, but at least hoping to disfigure him as the beam is aimed at his head. However, Vegeta narrowly dodges this sudden attack, only receiving a slight cut across the cheek, and scowls as he yells out enough tricks, as he decides to go all out while remaining in Super Saiyan God. Cooler is pushed back from the flurry of blows that Vegeta is sending his way, and now he is coming to terms with the fact that Vegeta might be slightly stronger than him as things stand now. However, Cooler isn't all too worried, and hasn't even shown any signs of the fact that he might be in danger. He takes a second to step back and even tells Vegeta that he might want to get into that blue-haired state that he heard so many rumors about across the universe. For this next transformation might be the last one that Vegeta will ever see. And then he reveals to Vegeta that he has one more transformation than even Frieza has ever shown. A transformation that only he has been able to achieve due to all his years of hard work. Cooler grows larger, develops even more armor across his body, and now he stands over Vegeta, almost twice Vegeta's size. Cooler is barely recognizable, and his power is vastly stronger than it was before. As Cooler says,
"Now go ahead. Transform. I want you to exhaust all options. That way you can finally lose hope and I crush your spirit and bones."
Yamcha is looking from a distance as he realized that Cooler's appearance isn't the only thing that this transformation has changed drastically. As Yamcha's thinking that even Vegeta might want to stop playing around at this point and get a little serious. Vegeta looks at Cooler and says, "Me? Transform? Why? Because you've gotten uglier? Come on already. Stop wasting my time." With that said, Cooler moves, and in the next moment, Cooler is in front of Vegeta, and before Vegeta can even recognize the movement, Cooler has already kneed Vegeta in the abdomen, making Vegeta cough up a little bit of blood. And Cooler doesn't stop there, as he decides to full-on decimate Vegeta. Vegeta can't even put up any real guards and block up any of these attacks. Cooler is truly in a completely different league at this moment, as Vegeta is being knocked around left and right and being injured over and over. It truly seems that Vegeta has no way of winning as it stands now, but yet he doesn't transform into Super Saiyan Blue or Ultra Ego. After a while, Cooler is a little confused by this, as his research and everything that he's learned from Frieza about the Saiyan, he knows that Vegeta should have something else up his sleeve, and it's not just Goku that has went toe to toe with Jiren a few times, and yet Vegeta refuses to transform and is just getting beaten left and right. And though Cooler is confused, he's not giving Vegeta another chance to do anything about this, as Vegeta has already turned down that opportunity and is already setting his sights on to the bystander that also hasn't moved or has intervened yet, as weird as that is. Just as Cooler is about to put a little bit more power into his next punch to try to end Vegeta right then and there, a smirk appears on Vegeta's face, and just as the blow is about to connect, Vegeta lifts up his hand and completely stops the punch. Cooler is stunned by this, as this punch should have been more powerful than all the others that he's delivered to Vegeta, and yet Vegeta full stopped it. And then Vegeta begins to laugh as he says, "Kakarot's not the only one that has learned to use his Ultra state in other forms." Vegeta's hair is still red, but there's a slight purplish hue around his entire aura, and as his veins seems to be popping out a little bit more than they were previously. And thus begins his retaliation, as for every blow that Cooler has delivered upon Vegeta, Vegeta is delivering it right back, almost in the exact same style that Cooler did. Knee to the stomach, a punch to the face, elbow to the chest, swinging Cooler around, and truly almost going into some form of savagery. Vegeta's speed that was once too slow to even keep up with Cooler is now almost outpacing Cooler, and the blows that would have actually have done nothing previously is now injuring him more than Cooler thought they should, at least in this state. Cooler is completely confused, as he thought that a Saiyan's power increases relied on them transforming or changing their hair colors, but yet even though Vegeta looks bloody, he's punching as if he has renewed energy. Cooler is completely at a loss as to what is going on, and this is actually making him angry. Yamcha, who has been surveilling all of this, actually has a smile on his face as he realized that Vegeta's hard work is finally paying off. Ever since Whis has told Goku that Goku should be able to use Ultra Instinct in all of his forms and not just transform into that state, all three of them have been practicing to use their Ultra, or in Yamcha's case, primal powers, though for all of them it's mostly been a mixed success. Goku's Ultra Instinct was by far the easiest to do, while Yamcha's primal instinct was the hardest to do However, for Vegeta, having an opponent that is insanely stronger than him, knock him around for quite a while, has actually awoken the Saiyan blood in him. And with his mastery over Ultra Ego now, he has used that to allow himself to get stronger without transforming, as long as he can endure the pain. Back to the fight, Cooler is now beyond angry, and he decides to unleash the full prowess of his transformation. Even with Vegeta becoming a lot stronger, it was only strong enough to contend with Cooler while he was playing around, as Cooler effortlessly blocks a punch. Cooler unleashes a counterattack aiming to end Vegeta's life. However, Vegeta managed to dodge this attack, surprising Cooler even more as Vegeta's speed skyrockets. He then pivots around Cooler, hitting him in the back, with a force that is actually painful to Cooler. This isn't just a one-time thing, as it happens a couple more times. Every time Cooler effortlessly blocks an attack or thinks he has a good read on Vegeta, Vegeta all of a sudden just skyrockets in power, throwing off Cooler's aim while managing to get past his defenses and delivering a mighty blow that Cooler otherwise should be able to tank. And for a while, Cooler doesn't understand what is happening. He thinks that Vegeta is powered up yet again without transforming. But in closer inspection, now that he's actually thinking and not just being fueled by rage, that just before the moment of attack, there's a spark of blue that surrounds Vegeta, and then after the attack, Vegeta goes back to red. Cooler thinks that he understands what's happening now, and he now knows what he has to do. For the next exchange, when Vegeta comes in and for just an instant turns into Super Saiyan Blue to deliver an attack, Cooler actually manages to block this outright, as also in that same moment, Cooler's body turns golden, as Cooler says,
"Nice trick, but I figured you out now."
And now, Cooler in his golden state turns around and at the same time swats Vegeta with his tail. Vegeta manages to go into Super Saiyan Blue to block this attack. However, the power is still devastating and still manages to knock Vegeta all the way down to the ruins below. Cooler then raises his hand and charges up a supernova to have it descend down on Vegeta's head, forcing Vegeta to end these games and finally go all out once and for all. However, before Cooler can actually launch this attack, Yamcha teleports right in front of him with an intense blood red aura rolling off of him, then lays a hand on Cooler and they both instantly teleport off the planet and into space. As Yamcha says, "Alright dude, it's my turn." Cooler laughs for a moment as he says,
"Try not to have casualties, huh? Well, don't you think you're forgetting something?"
As the supernova did not travel with them, and it starts to actually descend onto the ruins, which would then destroy the rest of the planet if it lands. Knowing this, Cooler is laughing and is already thinking of how funny it would be to kill this nameless warrior and the planet he tried so hard to protect at the same time. However, Yamcha says, "Nah, I remember, but don't worry, the boys can handle it." As back on planet Cereal, the supernova is descending. Vegeta is looking up at it and is getting ready to launch a big bang attack at it to counteract, and that is when multiple spirit-like wolves descend on the supernova and, using the technique Wolf Fang Assault, completely destroy it, as these packs of wolves are running across it and attacking it from all angles. By sacrificing their bodies, they're able to bite away at the sun until it is reduced into nothing but a ki blast that Vegeta can easily swat away as he scoffs. Back over to Goku and Granola. A lot has happened since their true first exchange, and now both of them are beaten and terribly injured. There's still a lot of fight in them, as Granola has dig deep and reached a new pinnacle of power, having both of his eyes red and his accuracy far more deadly, along with an insane power boost. But Goku, with a couple of hole marks and actual holes throughout his body, is looking far more serious, as his hair is now stark white. He's in Ultra Instinct. They can both tell that their fight is reaching its final stage. The battle before this has been tense. Granola seems to have a plethora of skills that were very hard for Goku to offset, ranging from things like spirit cloning to instant transmission, and surprisingly enough, a Cod. And though every new iteration of a skill caught Goku off guard, he was never caught off guard twice by the same thing. And thanks to Goku's decades of experience and actually being able to confront everything that Granola has put in front of him, at least at one point in his life, Goku was handling this fight very well, all things considered. However, while Goku was in Super Saiyan Blue, and even with Kaioken, Granola was just simply stronger, and his ability to unerringly hit Goku's vitals was becoming too much of a problem. This was even more of a headache than when Goku went up against Hit, or at least with Hit, it was more of skill and his ability to stop time. However, Granola being able to hit these vitals is less about skill and just his special signature ability, which made it really hard to dodge, even with using a subdued version of Ultra Instinct. And As the fight went on, Goku was slowly accumulating more damage than Granola was, which led to Goku forcibly having to use Mastered Ultra Instinct. As his hair turned white, the tempo of the battlefield changed, as the near misses was being evaded entirely. It was almost as if Goku was on a whole nother level, and Granola was beginning to actually panic. And one thing that he relied on, his 100% accuracy, was failing him again and again. It was almost as if Goku was the worst matchup in history for someone like Granola. Truthfully, probably would have had an easier time fighting against Vegeta. And as that thought crosses his mind, he comes to another realization that he won't be able to fight and end the other Saiyans as things stand now. If he can't beat Goku resoundingly and be strong enough to continue fighting afterwards, then there will be no point in becoming this strong and sacrificing so much to reach this level of power and literally wasting his life away. With this realization, Granola finds a breakthrough as he develops another red eye. His vision becomes crystal clear, and tracking the ever elusive Goku has now almost become child's play. In the next attack, Granola points his finger, and as Goku is diving in, Granola lazily lifts his hand up and points at Goku and shoots a finger beam at him. And Goku, letting his body naturally attempt to dodge this, is actually shocked, as for the first time since entering this state, he has been hit as the beam burns straight through his arm. Goku for a moment almost loses concentration, but he has practiced in Ultra Instinct for long enough to not be easily taken out of the form like that, and continues to press on. As the clash begins anew, the fight is no longer in Goku's favor, and it's actually a lot more even than it's ever been, with Goku managing to dodge some, but not all, of Granola's attacks. As things are ramping up, as ki blasts and finger beams are being shot and the earth begins to rumble and the planet begins to shake from their fierce clash, Granola takes a moment to scream out, "Why won't you die?" Clearly, Granola is starting to lose his composure. Goku isn't sitting easy either, but he isn't as stressed about this fight as Granola clearly seems to be. Granola uses telekinesis to send tons of debris flying at Goku's direction. Just as they get within range of Goku, Granola uses Hakai to set them all off, activating a chain of devastating explosions. Granola takes aim as he looks at the area that has been blanketed by dust, hoping to get a clean shot on Goku before he has time to recover. However, before the dust can actually settle, Granola all of a sudden says, "I know you're behind me." Goku managed to use instant transmission to get out of the area and get behind Granola, as he looks at Granola and says, "Man, I know we're fighting to the death and all. However, you seem to be rushing this fight a little too much. And you're getting a little careless. I mean, look at the place. Isn't this your home? You're just kind of blowing everything up." As when Granola, with a shocked look on his face, actually takes a moment and look at his surroundings. He was so focused on eradicating Goku that he hasn't really been paying attention to what he was exactly doing. As he looks around at the destruction that he has caused, thankfully this is the ruined city. However, they are getting a little too close for comfort to actual inhabited civilization. Even now, he can make out people that he has seen all his life, friends that he's gotten to know, and he's looking at them as they seem to be following procedures for earthquakes, as he's just now noticing that it's because of him that they're frightful and worried for their lives. But then he looks back at Goku, and some of the anger returns as he yells at Goku that this is your fault. You weren't supposed to be this hard to kill. I made a wish to become the strongest in the universe. I sacrificed my life for this, and yet here you are, a Saiyan, alive, and calm enough to have a talk with me? No, this isn't fair. And this isn't right. I don't know if Torombo lied to me or what, but this is not what I wished for. With Goku just replying that, well, I don't know when you made your wish, but I guess it just seems like we just got stronger in the time you made it. I mean, you're still crazy strong, don't get me wrong, but is this really what you want to do? I mean, it seems like Vegeta and Yamcha are actually fighting your real enemies there. In fact, Yamcha has been helping out more than you realize. And it is just at that moment where Granola noticed that there is someone coming towards them from a distance, and this person is riding on what seems to be a translucent wolf, and on that wolf is the Namekian Minato. Granola is shocked and asks, what is he doing here? As the Namekian just replies, "Stop, he is not your enemy. I've seen this face before, and if I am not wrong, he is related, maybe even the son of the Saiyan I once knew, the Saiyan Bardock, who once saved our lives." Back over to where Cooler and Yamcha are fighting deep in space. Yamcha is not taking Cooler lightly. Cooler has already shown that he is stronger than Vegeta in Super Saiyan Blue, and Yamcha gets the feeling that Cooler is still holding something back. And so Yamcha is actually going to start this fight within his upper limits of power, starting off at Kaioken times 130 and opening up with a Wolf Fang Assault, trying to get as much damage on Cooler as he possibly can. This attack is very effective. Even with Cooler blocking, the attack still cut into him, making him bleed in various places. Angered at having his blood spilt, especially by an attack that is not overly powerful, Cooler decides to show Yamcha the full power of his golden form, launching an eye beam, and then while Yamcha is in the middle of dodging, instant transmissions behind him to deliver a heavy blow. But as Cooler's hands descend down on Yamcha's head, the momentum is suddenly stopped as his hand is caught in the jaws of a wolf. Now checking out his surroundings, he now realizes that he is surrounded by a multitude of these wolves, realizing that he has been caught in an ambush. As the wolves start to gang up on Cooler, Yamcha then unleashes a Kamehameha, which lands squarely against Cooler's chest, angering him even more. Cooler is now determined to show Yamcha the error of his ways, as he ducks out of the Kamehameha and zip past all of the wolves, destroying them in the process, and then arrives right in front of Yamcha with unparalleled speed. He then punches Yamcha in the face, sending him flying, and then chases after him, and instead of going behind him as he did last time, Cooler knees him in the stomach. Then using his tail to wrap around Yamcha's neck, slings him into a nearby asteroid belt. As Yamcha stops himself before he crashes into an asteroid, Cooler crashes into Yamcha using his foot to cover Yamcha's entire chest and slams him into the asteroid, breaking it completely and then continuing on until he hits another one. Yamcha is now tired of being pushed around. It's finally time to show his opponent how powerful he truly is. As Yamcha enters Kaioken times 150, all Cooler can see is red, and then he noticed that his foot is getting pushed back further and further until a moment where he is pushed cleanly off of Yamcha and is sent flying through space. Cooler looks to Yamcha's direction to see what new form or transformation Yamcha has acquired, but as he looks where Yamcha was, he's no longer there. Then all of a sudden, Cooler hears a howl, and then looking in the direction where he thinks he heard it, he receives a Wolf Fang Fist from the opposite direction. Stunned and shocked to see that the force of that attack is stronger than anything he has felt thus far, he is still slow to react, as Yamcha decides to unleash a barrage from all sides. Cooler, now realizing that he is actually a little slower than Yamcha, decides to wait for the right moment and grab onto Yamcha and use his bigger frame to hold him still and use a point blank death beam at Yamcha's face. However, Cooler doesn't even get to the point where he can laser Yamcha's face, as Yamcha breaks free of the hold by using spirit control to assume a giant form. Now it is Cooler looking up at Yamcha, as Yamcha says, "It's not so fun being the small guy now, is it?" As Yamcha uses his giant hands to grab onto Cooler. After that, Yamcha then uses the cloning technique, so now there are two of them, one holding on to Cooler and the other one charging up a spirit ball, and then the clone hurls the spirit ball at Cooler while the original makes sure that Cooler can't go anywhere. The ball travels at unpredictable angles until it finally lands on the crystal-like object that seems to be embedded in Cooler's head, and it explodes just as Yamcha teleports out of there. As the smoke clears, Yamcha's clone disappears as Yamcha reverts back into his original form, still at Kaioken times 150, as he can tell that Cooler is not yet dead. As the smoke clears, Cooler is huffing and breathing erratically, and he seems horribly injured as he says,
"The humiliation. This cannot be. This has gone on far enough. I was hoping to leave this as a surprise for my brother, but at the moment, your death is more important than anything else."
As Cooler begins to transform once again, going from all gold is now starting to change in various areas. Most of his main body is now stark white. However, on one side, his forearm, shoulder, and leg begin to turn red, and on the opposite side, the same body parts turn blue, and the tip of his tail becomes a lot more pointed and seems more of a weapon than anything else, and is the only part that maintains a little bit of that golden hue. As the transformation finished, Cooler's power is at an all new high. However, he doesn't seem too ecstatic about it as he says,
What is this? This doesn't feel right."
as Yamcha says, "You're multicolored now, huh? That's cool, I guess." Yamcha is keeping a calm demeanor. However, that is just so Cooler doesn't attack him immediately, as he's trying to buy a little bit of time for reinforcements to arrive. Yamcha can clearly see that this version of Cooler is still far beyond what Yamcha can do now, at least safely. So he telepathically reached out to Vegeta to see if Vegeta wants to actually put away the Saiyan pride and actually fight as a team. Back on planet Cereal, even Vegeta can feel this power, and after hearing what Yamcha had to say, Vegeta hates to admit it, but Yamcha is right that this is actually just the better option, as they probably could fight Cooler by themselves. However, the energy that they're sensing now, they don't even know if this is Cooler's full power. So Vegeta heads that way. Over with Goku and Granola, Goku just heard the full story of his father and what he has done in saving Granola himself. Granola is shocked that there was at least a savior amongst the people, and that savior is the father of the man he was trying to kill just moments ago. Goku is having a lot of emotions going through him, but the main ones is being proud and being whole, finally knowing most of everything about his family, knowing that him and his dad are a lot more alike than he originally thought, given the context of when he first met Vegeta and Radix. And with hearing this story, something resonates within Goku. There's a small, subtle change within him, but he can't ponder this for long. It is at this moment where he sensed the overwhelming power that is Cooler deep within space. He wonders if he should go up there and help, but he senses Vegeta is already heading that way, and so he decides to just keep his eye on the situation for now. But after a few moments of doing that, keeping his senses out there, he sensed something else. Someone else has arrived to join the fight. Someone just as powerful as Cooler, maybe even more so, as he looks towards Granola and says, "We have to go." Back in space, Cooler is looking at his form in confusion. He doesn't know if this is because he hasn't actually practiced the next step past gold, or the wish that the dragon has granted him was flawed. He doesn't know what exactly went wrong, but he does know that this isn't complete. But he can't sit back and dwell on it too much, as he comes back to his senses and can feel his opponent staring him down and checking him for weaknesses, like a predator does to prey. Cooler begins to say something, but before he can even get his words out, Vegeta appears right next to Yamcha. But Vegeta chuckles and says, "Ha ha ha, well, look at the cloud. No wonder your family hid you away. They knew a colorblind fool like you would be a disgrace to their family, their all-powerful empire. But don't worry, like I said earlier, I knew you and your family were a bunch of freak show." Vegeta's laugh at Cooler's appearance is suddenly interrupted by a death beam that pierces through his chest, narrowly avoiding his heart as he, at the last moment, realized the threat and tried to dodge. Yamcha catches him and Ori begins to heal Vegeta up a bit as he looks at where the death beam came from, and it did not come from Cooler. As Frieza arrives and says, "Ho ho ho, my, now this is quite a surprise. So many things have been developing while I've been gone. Would have known that my brother would have achieved so much, though look so foolish." However, as Frieza's jovial expression becomes serious as he says, "The only one that gets to make fun of him is me, because you dared to mock us. I don't think I can be lenient with you. You know, Vegeta, I only planned to give you a taste of my power and walk away. But for that insult, I'm afraid I can't leave until you start begging for mercy." As Frieza is already in his golden form and decides to go even a step further than that already, as he enters another transformation as the form takes over and blackens all around him, has a sheen to it as if it is obsidian. And as shockingly as it is to say, this power easily excels past Cooler's. Now Frieza's transformation is complete, and just then Yamcha is mostly done healing Vegeta, though Vegeta stops Yamcha as he tells him that he wants to keep the rest of the pain as a reminder to not stop until Frieza has felt this same pain and even more, as Vegeta enters his ultra ego state. Just in time too, as Goku and Granola both instant transmission in, now fully seeing the danger of this situation. It is now 4 against 2. However, Vegeta looks at Goku and Granola and tells them that he and Yamcha are going to fight Frieza, while y'all two are going to fight Cooler. Granola begins to protest, but Yamcha steps in and says that Granola is not at the state yet where he can even fight Frieza. And then looking around, Granola can tell that he is pretty much the weakest one here, even though it's very close and he's actually not too far away from the rest of his allies. It's just that they just keep growing in power, and even from looking at it, Goku seems to be moving even further ahead in strength, probably because of him resonating with Bardock. And so the two groups split up, Yamcha and Vegeta versus Frieza, and Goku and Granola versus Cooler. Goku goes into Ultra Instinct, but then he thinks of what it means to be a Saiyan and what it means to truly only focus on the battle ahead of you as a Saiyan, and his mastered Ultra Instinct then becomes perfected. His hair remains black, there is an eagerness to him, and yet he seems to be at an entirely different level than when he was fighting Granola. Granola takes a step back and provides support, as he is pretty much the ultimate sniper. And this role benefits him a lot more than up close. Cooler is still stronger than Goku at this moment and is even faster than him also. However, with the support from Granola, Goku's insane ability to dodge and counterattack, Cooler is actually steadily being pushed back. But as he is fighting through, he is realizing more and more of his actual own power and realizing that there is actually a purpose for his multicolored transformation. The red side is all about power, while the blue side is all about defense, as he uses the blue side more often than not to block all of Granola's deadly attacks. Even when they do hit, they do next to no damage. Red side doing so much damage that once he actually does hit, Goku's arm that went for the perfect block actually goes completely limp, as it has been broken, and from the looks of it, he has no hope of using it anymore during this fight. Cooler is ecstatic. He can win this war of attrition. However, even with a broken arm, Goku seems to be enjoying this fight more and more. He's almost like a battle maniac at this point, as the silver aura is suffusing him completely, and he begins to start catching up to Cooler and even slightly pushing Cooler back himself, with Granola realizing that he's not contributing as much as he was, and Goku is doing almost all of the heavy lifting. Granola digs deep as he thinks that he did not sacrifice all of these years to be the strongest for nothing. This wish still means something. He should still be the strongest in the universe, and if he's not the strongest now, then as Goku says, he must get stronger as time goes on. So Granola digs deep and his eyes begin to bleed as he focuses in and looking for the exact weak points where Cooler can't block with his blue side, and even if he could, tries to find a weak point even in that, so he can get the finishing blow and not Goku. Because after all, Granola still wants revenge some way, somehow. Over at the Frieza fight, Vegeta has used the damage that he's accumulated from Cooler and now the Death Beam to push his Ultra Ego to new heights as he and Yamcha are assaulting Frieza. However, Frieza is in a league of his own and his power is oppressive. He's easily contending with the both of them. Yamcha was being more of a supportive role just like Granola was at the beginning of this fight. However, as the damage is piling up and his energy reserves are getting lower and lower, Yamcha is getting into a desperate state as the fight is looking almost hopeless, while Vegeta is only getting stronger as they are losing. Vegeta can clearly see that Goku is stepped up to a whole nother league when it comes to his Ultra Instinct, and he refuses to stay behind, pushing his Ultra Ego more and fighting this fight not just for the Saiyan race, but for his own selfish goal, being in this moment and this moment only, wanting this life and death feeling as it resonates with him, and his Saiyan blood begins to boil and his Ultra Ego state responds to this. Yamcha, on the other hand, is now in a fight or flight mode, and obviously he is choosing fight. No longer is he trying to be the person on the sideline. This whole journey, this whole time of him becoming stronger and learning Kaioken and learning all the things from Yaldrak, working hard enough to be able to train on Beerus' planet, he is thinking all of these things as he is fighting Frieza toe to toe with Vegeta. He begins to dig deep and reach deep within himself as his eyes begin to show a brightened shade of yellow. He was the furthest way from mastering his instinct form, but in fights like this, his form truly shines the brightest. Where his back is against the wall, he's now like a cornered animal, and that is when they become the most dangerous, the most savage, as he lets the primal instinct that is within him, within all being, surge through his body, as this instinct tells him to survive by any means necessary. And if you cannot find those means, then the only step after that to ensure survival is to evolve. Yamcha howls out louder than ever before as he breaks his 150 barrier on Kaioken and enters into the 200 range easily, but it's not enough. His blood yearns for more. His body, being in the aura of Frieza, demands him to go even further. He pushes into the Kaioken of 300. A part of him is screaming for him to relent, for him to back down, but his instincts tell him that he can't, not until this enemy is dealt with, not until he can ensure that he will be able to live past this day. As long as Frieza is around and even Cooler, then he will keep pushing until all threats are erased. Goku is focused on his own fight, but even for a moment, he sensed the overwhelming energy of Kaioken that Yamcha has released, and goes back to remembering the time where Whis told him that Yamcha's Kaioken, base Kaioken, is equal to 5 times that of Goku's. And Goku is now worried because he knows that he couldn't even begin to handle Kaioken times 1500. But that worry disappears as he focuses back in on the fight at hand. Cooler sees that he is now losing this fight as Goku is engaging with Cooler while at the same time easily dodging all of Granola's beams in just a precise way, so that way it hits Cooler's weak point, and if not that, at least throws Cooler off so that way Goku can hit Cooler's weak point. Cooler is now in a losing battle, and he recognizes that the edge that he thought he had in figuring out his new form is now completely gone. This 2-on-1 fight was more than what he can handle, and he needs to reduce the numbers quickly. So he tries to instant transmission past Goku to get to Granola, who seemed to be barely holding on as his eyes are just almost a fountain of blood. Cooler gets in front of Granola. Granola barely reacts, almost as if he is blind to Cooler at this moment. But before Cooler can strike down Granola, Cooler is grabbed by a giant hand and turn around, realize that is not Yamcha but an astral projection of Goku, now holding Cooler in place with undeniable power. Cooler doesn't know what this is. This seems to be like an energy construct completely different than what Yamcha did earlier. But not only that, but Cooler sees that Goku has complete white hair. The only thing that Cooler can think of while looking at Goku is divine. And Goku tells Granola, let's finish this. Granola, barely being able to even see the image of Cooler as everything is almost a blur, focuses all of his energy, everything he has, as Granola charges the strongest finger beam that he's ever done before in his entire life. For the first time in a long time, puts full trust into a Saiyan as he fires. Cooler wiggles around just enough for his blue side to take the brunt of the beam, but it's just too much, as after a bit of a struggle, it pierces through and the beam begins to enlarge and begins to consume Cooler in a blinding light. The beam is so powerful, even Goku's astral projection starts to break down, still trying to hold on to Cooler so that way Cooler can't escape this devastating blow. As the beam starts to fade, Granola's arms drop to his sides, begins to just float in space. Goku picks him up and looks on at Vegeta and Yamcha's fight. Vegeta and Yamcha have pushed themselves to the utmost limits, with Yamcha now being the stronger of the two by a mile. However, Yamcha's body is being completely destroyed by the second. He has about one attack, maybe two, if he is lucky. Vegeta realizes this, focuses everything he has, and thinks back to the training with Beerus as he enters close combat with Frieza. Even though Frieza is still stronger, Frieza can clearly sense that Yamcha is more of the threat, and so he is constantly on the lookout for whatever Yamcha is trying to do, and is now trying to dispatch Vegeta in the quickest way possible. Frieza sees an opening and strikes Vegeta, hoping to kill him right then and there, but Vegeta let himself be open. That was all part of his plan as he grabs hold of Frieza and, thinking back to all of the training that he had with Beerus, summons an orb of Hakai and shoves it straight into Frieza. Frieza then smacks Vegeta away, and he now has to contest and fight off the energy that is slowly trying to destroy him from existence. While Frieza is preoccupied with that and trying to not be utterly erased, Yamcha pounces, using instant transmission, and comes down with a descending Fang. The Fang attack connects with Frieza's obsidian skin. There's a moment of resistance, and from an outside perspective, it seems to be as if a wolf is trying to bite down on hard armor. That's when Yamcha comes in with his second attack, his double wolf Fang fist, as it now looks like there are two wolves attacking together, finding chinks in the armor, and eventually he pierces through and cuts clean through Frieza, leaving deep lacerations across Frieza's back, which makes Frieza cough up blood and lose concentration. The concentration that he was holding to keep the Hakai at bay is now broken as he is now consumed in the ball, and Yamcha teleports away, immediately de-transforming and putting all his remaining power, which is very little, into healing himself. And even with that, he can't move a muscle. Vegeta catches him and holds him up by his shirt and points him forward so that way they can both watch as Frieza becomes no more, as he is being truly erased from existence. Not long after, the whole crew is back on planet Cereal, and Minato is doing the best to heal them all up. Of all of them, Vegeta is surprisingly the less hurt, even though he took most of a beating, but he took a beating in a way where he wouldn't be disabilitated later on, almost as if he actually learned his lesson from fighting Beerus and took strategical hits throughout the fight. Goku is also relatively fine, as all he had was a broken arm, but the other two are beyond broken. Even with Minato's healing, they are barely able to even sit themselves upright. Granola and Yamcha are in the worst conditions they probably have ever been in their entire lives, and the Yamcha is even worse than that. He has now finally realized that primal instinct probably doesn't have a limit, but that's also a dangerous thing, as it will keep pushing him to a point where potentially there could be no return, only thinking of the survival of the now than the survival of the future. Truly something that Yamcha will have to work on for later. While Granola's eyes are slowly being healed and slowly adjusting, there are probably not going to be any long-term effects. However, he isn't the most joyful at the moment, as he does explain to everyone that he has just about 3 months left to live, as the wish from the dragon sacrificed his own life force in order to give him the power needed to be the strongest. Which, looking around the room, he can see why it took almost all 150 years of his life to be as strong as he is now. Upon hearing this, Goku and the others think that maybe their Dragon Balls can help fix this. And if he does die, well, they can always just wish him back. As Granola comes to realize that there's more Dragon Balls out there, so there's more ways to figure something out. Plus, they're definitely going to need to use the Dragon Balls on Yamcha, seeing how, well, he kind of messed his body up. It is at that point where Whis comes by, tells them that they did a good job and it's time for them to finally go home. They can reunite with friends and hear about some unsettling news from their other companions that have traveled across the universe and or multiverse, as things might not be calming down yet. And so the Z Warriors end up going back with Whis to their home. Goku asks if these two can come along also, saying how Piccolo would love to see another Namekian, and they got some wishes to see if it can help out Granola's situation. And Goku also throws in that Granola will be a cool sparring partner for Beerus, as he is quote unquote supposed to be the strongest in the universe. So with that, and they all end up going back to Earth to get some much needed rest, to reconnect with friends, and to train even more so that they can continue their own path that will lead them to their strongest selves. And that is where we're gonna end it. There's a long road coming, but that is the end of the series as a whole. Maybe one day we'll come back to this to tell the story of how the demons can challenge all of the Z Warriors even more, and even challenge the gods themselves. And if not that, then I'm pretty sure there could be a whole nother world tournament to see just how well all these guys who have now developed their own ways to power compete against each other. I feel like that would be pretty cool to do. But till then, there's more what ifs to do and more content to make, also that way you guys can watch it and enjoy it, just like I hope you guys enjoyed this story of what if the Earthlings was strong. This was fun. I'll see you guys later, and I hope you guys have a good day. Stay tuned for more. Peace.